Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining our kickoff meeting of the Earth Observations for Land Management Cluster or Collaboration Area. And we are an existing group, the Applied Earth Observations and Innovations Partnership, AEOIP, and I'm Liz Hoy at NASA as a contractor through GST. And we have some other great co-leads that I'm going to introduce in just a minute as well. So I'll put this poll is up here, and I see that some of you have started filling this out now. Just in one or two words, what brings you to the webinar today, and then we'll move on and we'll introduce everybody. And just go ahead and fill that out if you want, and if you don't, that's okay. There we go. Land management, satellites. Just wanted to see what brought people to the webinar. We have pretty good participation here, which is wonderful. About 40 people online, so. Thanks very much for everyone for participating. I'm the current co-chair of the AEIP or also this ESIP cluster, along with Andy Lister is my co-chair. Andy is from the US Forest Service. Andy, do you want to say hi too?
It's great. I'm real excited about this. Both Liz and I are new to ESIP relatively, and I'm relatively new to the AEOIP. So I look forward to seeing how this goes.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move us along. So our team today that's going to present, we have Andy and myself, and then Amanda Armstrong, also from NASA and through the ESIP cooperative agreement. And I think Everett is online as well. If Everett's here, he's going to join us as well. And if he couldn't make it, that's he's here in spirit with us. He's a retired USDA Forest Service program manager and has also really kept our group going over the years as well. So in this in this webinar, our goals are to introduce you to what AEOIP already is and what we're going to be doing now in the EO for Land Management Collaboration Area here with ESIP. We're going to hopefully have some time to gather some community input to define some priorities for our collaboration area, identify technical and institutional barriers in developing and using data products in land management, and we just want to build connections within this group and within the ESIP community. And so we're glad that all of you could join us today. At the Applied Earth Observations and Innovation Partnership, AEOIP, we have this kind of static website now. You can get the little QR code there at the top if you want to check it out. But it talks a little bit about our history, and Amanda's going to go into that in a minute as well. But our mission is really to foster interagency partnerships to advance Earth observation-based land management. And this vision is really that in connecting Earth observation science and technology experts with land management experts, we seek to increase awareness of new Earth observation capabilities, as well as research and operational management challenges in order to help formulate solutions through effective integration of data. And oh, is there a lot of data now? And so Andy's going to talk a little bit about some of that and some of the workflows that can be challenging in a little bit. So we wanted to kind of just also kind of hear from the folks online, where are you coming from? What defines your participant role here? Your researcher, land manager, data producer, policymaker, developer, student, other. So we'll give everybody a minute or two to go ahead and fill out the poll. I guess we should fill out the poll too, Andy, shouldn't we, huh? 11, 13 of you in there, 15. All right. 18, 19. Great, this is pretty good. 20. We'll give it one more minute.
This is kind of thrilling. I just love watching this. I mean, we should have a betting thing too, where you
Yeah.
put in their Venmo and whoever
I
predicts.
am very glad to hear we have a pretty good mix here and just slightly more researchers than land managers. But overall, we've got some great, a lot of data producers as well. even some students in there. So that's really great to see. So okay, 25 people filled it out. That's pretty good. We can go with that. All right, we're going to let Amanda take it over for a little bit, and she's going to give us kind of a brief overview of where AAUIP has come from and what its work has been. So to just as a way to prepare us for where we're going to go next with ESIP.
Hi, everybody. Thanks, Liz. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, so thank you all for coming and showing interest in this exciting new ESIP cluster or collaboration area. Our group has actually been together since 2019. I don't know, can you advance the slide, Liz? Yeah, so this just kind of shows some of our members and current and past co-chairs. Our group has been working together since 2019 with various members coming and going, of course. And we've been working at the nexus of applying Earth observation resources to land management and ecological research. So the AUIP provides a framework for fostering partnerships between NASA, NOAA, and other remote sensing data providers. And also US Forest Service, but also including USGS and BLM and other remote sensing data consumers and or land managers. So I think, personally too, I think many of our colleagues also participate in the AUIP to stay up to date on how other agencies are using EO to help identify EO products that could support activities within other land-focused agencies, and also to interact with colleagues and build relationships. I guess go ahead to the next slide if you would. Yeah, so this is just showing some timeline of our activities, some of the activities that we've enjoyed and put together and had some great successes with over the past 7 years or so. We sort of feel like this interagency partnership is really at the forefront of modern government science and technology. And as a group, we understand that through coordination, collaboration, learning, and discussion, Earth observing data can both be applied to the betterment of land management across the US and the globe even. And it can and it should also be improved to meet the needs of the land management community as well. So in that sense, there's this sort of dual feedback loop between data producers and data users and appliers, and how even those that use and apply data should be looped into the development of new data to sort of better serve the land management community overall. And as you can see at the bottom here, the timeline that we're showing has some publications at the bottom that you can sort of look up and find if you Google these different words. There are also, some of them are linked in the static website that Liz mentioned as well. And some of the activities that have been very successful to date. This whole thing began back in 2019 with a US Forest Service and NASA joint applications workshop. And then from there, I think around the second year or so of this group's inception, Everett Hinckley and Sabrina Delgado Arias, who I think is on this call as well, they co-chaired it together and did some really exciting and kind of new work, new ways of bringing this community together. They formed and put off a really successful virtual pitch fest and a virtual ideas forum that occurred over COVID when we were all stuck at home. And then, so there's been some very interesting workshops and stuff as well. And sort of as we go, I look forward to more, things coming down the pike and more engagement opportunities as we can identify them and make them happen. Can you go to the next slide? So that was before. As you can see, some of our engagement has increased over the years. And again, there's some more publications down at the bottom. And as an example of some of the output that we've put together over time, if you go to the next one, Liz. Next, yeah, there we go. So this is just showing an example, but an important outcome of our 2024 workshop was the co-production of a needs assessment matrix centered around the wildfire science community. And again, this was co-developed together. There might be a little bit of an animation in there. If you can just click one more time. Yeah. Okay. So sorry about that. Yeah. So at the top right there, and there's a big blue X on it now. But I think one of the things that we've learned as a group over the years is just the importance of energy flow and information flow, right? And that maybe in prior decades the way that we've approached Earth observation and producing products that the land management community could use has been to kind of have this big flow of information from the providers to the users with not a lot of feedback from the users to the providers. And so that's what this bottom graphic to the right shows, is just kind of the equalization of that information flow and making sure that we are contacting and engaging at all parts of the process when we are producing new resources that can be used, and also new sensors that can gather this type of data. So I think with that, I think I can toss it back over to you guys. I think maybe Andy's going next.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. Yeah, Andy's up next, and he's going to give a land management perspective on all of the tools and the data and the activities that land managers need to focus on. Take it away, Andy.
Sorry,
You
I'm
on
trying to
mute,
mute.
man?
Yep, yep,
Andy,
yep.
there you go.
So thanks. The goal of this next set of slides is just to kind of prime the pump, because we're going to go into breakout sessions later and try to gather information from the clientele, the EOIP clientele, to see what kinds of topics you'd like to talk about. So I'm going to present some topics that'll get that discussion going. Next slide, please. So, I'm the Forest Service guy, right? I am a researcher, but I'm familiar with a lot of the things that go on in the National Forest System, which is not one of the other branches of the Forest Service. And I know that the land managers who work on national forests, they are very skilled at GIS and other geospatial activities. And a typical workflow would be that they've got a whole bunch of GIS layers. They have a study area where maybe a timber sale or something like that. They'll overlay that on these GIS layers. They'll do various overlays and clips, and they will turn these clipped GIS layers into information, which are then used by the managers and silviculturists, et cetera, to make decisions about activities. Next slide. So, activities of this, examples of this are things like the NEPA process, and a lot of you are familiar with that. It's sort of like an environmental impact assessment type thing. And right, so next slide. So what I think this cluster or this community of practice is trying to get at is sort of the enhancing the use of EO data, Earth observation data, in that workflow. So what I'll call the EO-enabled land manager workflow. If you go to the next slide. It's still the same principle where we've got some ground data, perhaps some stand level information or some plot data. We overlay it on the GIS layers and remote sensing data. And we use some sort of a modeling procedure, maybe machine learning or maybe something else, to develop models of the attribute of interest as a function of the imagery and the GIS data. Just a classic predictive modeling procedure. And then those models are used to produce other GIS data that's used in that management and policy decision framework. Next slide. So, any of us who work in the biz are really are familiar with a lot of this stuff, but we've got airborne LiDAR, drone imagery, vegetation maps, risk maps, census data, aerial imagery, time series of Landsat, and Sentinel. We've got all these new things coming online, NISAR, radar. And then there's consultants out there who are selling us stuff. So next. So not only have we got that stuff, if you go to the next slide, there we go. We've got all these tools. And I was just in a meeting with a bunch of National Forest System people, and they're like, it's tool overload. And next slide. The problem is, well, how am I supposed to deal with this as a land manager? I just don't have the bandwidth to figure out how to assimilate, spaceborne LiDAR data and use all these new tools, let alone start to understand AI and how that might help me. Next slide. So, just in summary, these are the kinds of things from my perspective I've seen with my colleagues in the Forest Service with respect to land management. To the next. So, like I had that big list, there's a whole bunch of new things and there's new data sources coming online every day, and it's overwhelming. To the next. One of the big things, everybody's into LiDAR, right? Well, but then everybody's also saying, well, how do we store the LiDAR? So we need to start using cloud computing maybe. And do we work locally? Do we download the data from the cloud and try to process it on our crummy Forest Service laptops? Or do we try to find a supercomputer? Uh, and what programming language do we use? Because maybe I learned R maybe 20 years ago, but everybody's using Python now. So oh my gosh, there's a learning curve. Next. And then I mentioned this issue with the massive data storage, and we in the Forest Service have something called the T drive, which is a sort of our corporate drive. I guess it's a NAS, and they just told us, oh, we're migrating it, and everybody has to delete everything from their T drive and upload it to Microsoft Azure. Not everything, but the point is, we've got decades of data stored on this thing, and it's a problem. So next. And then finally, we've got this AI situation. So if you didn't know how to use Python before, you know how, from basically one day to the next, you can now program in Python via vibe coding. So how do we deal with that? You've got all of a sudden a whole bunch of new entrepreneurs making new data sets and, throwing a wrench in the process, coming up with these brilliant new ideas. How do we manage that? So that's my spiel, and we'll pass it over to Liz for the NASA perspective on the producers and research.
Thanks, Andy. I appreciate that. I just love the picture with the little exploding head. I feel that way most days anyways. Yeah, so Andy's passing it over to me, and from the NASA Earth Science side, I'm going to give you just a quick overview of some of the different data sets, data streams that we have available. But I want to actually leave more time for our breakout activity and discussion. So I'm going to go through this kind of fast, but I'll find a way to make sure that these slides are available and this will be recorded. And so you can kind of go back and take a look at things at your leisure. And so just to give you an overview, NASA is operating 20 plus Earth observing satellites providing free open data. And this is in partnership with other agencies as well. So it's not just all NASA data sets. So it's with NOAA and with other groups as well. So, but you can just see we're looking at many parts of the Earth system with these different satellite data sets. And just to go through a few of them, which you may already be aware of, which is why I won't take too long. We have Landsat, 50 years plus of continuous monitoring, looking at things like forest inventory and health, burn severity, mapping, land cover change, urban planning. That's accessible on the cloud, as Andy was talking about. And so, as these data sets become so available, what's the best way to access and use them? Now combining Landsat with Sentinel as well, this kind of turns a good data product into an even better data product where you have 30-meter resolution and 2 to 3 day observations of atmospherically corrected data. Could be used by land managers. There's more frequent observations, less cloud interference, pre-processed and ready to use, consistent format across sensors, ideal for phenology and rapid change detection. So a lot of different applications here and locations to find the data. MODIS and VIIRS. So MODIS, as you know, has been around for many years. VIIRS is for not quite as many, but still a really rich data record there as well. Whoops, sorry. And I wanted to point out while we're on this slide, thinking about MODIS, MODIS is going to be sunsetting at some point soon, not too soon, but it's going to sunset. And so we actually have our next webinar for AEOIP is going to be at the end of this month, and I'll have a link at the end if you want to register for it. But it's about the post-MODIS kind of VIIRS availability of data products. And so keep an eye out for that and consider joining that webinar too, where we'll have folks from NASA present on kind of the post-MODIS environment. JEDI on the International Space Station is laser measurements of canopy height, vegetation structure. So really getting at some vegetation, forest biomass, forest structure, timber volume estimation. GRACE and GRACE follow-on, which is gets you able to look at water below the surface. So kind of gravity recovery and climate experiment follow-on is what GRACE actually stands for. So monthly gravity measurements revealing water storage changes, which could be used for groundwater depletion monitoring, drought assessment and prediction, water resource planning, irrigation management, just some of the applications there for that. A picture of it there. SMAP is a soil moisture active passive. So soil moisture for decision making, understanding water in the root zone. This is a radar instrument, 9-kilometer resolution, 2 to 3 day repeat. A lot of different applications there as well. And then outside of just satellite products that are available, NASA also has a great program called RSET, which is the Applied Remote Sensing Training Program. And I wanted to point this out too, because this offers a lot of different training classes that are free and available. Some of them are self-paced, self-guided. Some of them are in a course environment, like an online course, and you can take these different tutorials and workshops and programs to learn about different satellite data sets and how to incorporate them into your workflow. And you'll kind of go through a guided tutorial to learn how to use some of these different data sets. So you can kind of stop by this website and check them out, and you can search for many different applications to kind of that would be relevant to land managers. And then just quickly to talk about some additional capabilities, NISAR recently launched. It's a radar to look at biomass and deformation, lots of different changes across the earth. Then there's air quality monitoring, surface water extent, PACE, which is oceans, atmosphere, and aquatic ecosystems. And then there are many commercial data partnerships as well. So the Commercial Smallsat Data Acquisition Program, or CSDA at NASA, has a lot of commercial data that can be tasked and also ordered and downloaded and used by US government-funded investigators. So that's something to keep in mind as well for land management agencies. You all would be able to access those data sets as well. Okay. Oh, I don't know why this is doing that. That's really strange. Okay, can you guys, okay. Well, I don't know what that's about. I could stop sharing and try to redo it and see if it changed anything. Maybe it's okay. Does the Slido link still work? I have no idea why the color's blue. But
Works
in any
on my
event,
end.
Yeah, well, if you can get to that Slido poll. So that kind of concludes the talking at you portion of this webinar. And we want to actually try to do some breakouts and have some time where we kind of mix it up and have some land managers and our researchers all together in different breakout groups, all kind of talking about some of these different land management scenarios. And so we're just we wanted to get an idea of what people might be most interested in. And then I think we'll split out into different groups. So probably the top maybe 4 groups or so, we could have different breakouts perhaps. That would have about 10 people in a group. I don't know. We could do all 6. Andy, what do you think?
How many people do we have in total? Let's see here.
We have about 40 people.
I say I mean, yeah. I think having all 6 would work. I mean,
All 6.
why not? You know?
Okay. So it looks like a lot of you are really interested in forest resource management, and only a few of you are interested in wildlife. But we're going to set up 6 groups, and each group is going to deal with a scenario. And these questions are going to be consistent throughout each scenario. And let me put this in the chat now. let's see. We're going to,
Hey, Liz.
yeah.
I don't know if the slide has changed, but I just wanted to point out that 5% of 40 is 2. So that might make for a small group. That was
Well,
one of them.
yeah. I think that not every that we wanted to get a gauge of who we had and who's interested, in going in different. Oh, there we go. Now it's kind of not blue anymore. But you're not going to necessarily be able to go in the group that you're most interested in. We wanted to kind of see if we had, hopefully we were hoping that we'd have interest across all 6 scenarios, but I think maybe Aaron, what we'll do is, can you just randomly put people in the different scenarios maybe?
I
But
I can
then
do that.
we need to
Who
have,
would be your other facilitators? I have Andy,
yeah,
Elizabeth, Amanda. Who would I need to make them co-hosts so it doesn't automatically assign them?
I think Sabrina volunteered to be one. And I think Tim Asal is on here somewhere. Let's see. Tim volunteered to be one.
Sabrina and Tim. Okay.
And then that's only still 5. So we need,
Maybe we roll the last one into one of the others. So just the top 5.
yeah, let's just do the
Now
top. We'll
that
just
the
do
sage
5.
grouse conservation is, just
Yeah.
a bit
So we
ease.
will not deal with wildlife habitat and rangeland management. That won't so the other but we'll have five groups. So 5 breakout groups, and let's see. Andy, I kind of feel like you should get to lead forest resource management.
Sure. Sounds good.
And then maybe I'll go to fire disturbance. Amanda, do you want to do well, I don't know. Let's see. Tim, would you rather do fire, or what do you care what you're doing, Tim? Okay, Tim said he'll do coastal and wetland. Sabrina and Amanda, you can decide between water resource and urban forest, and I'll do fire.
Either way is fine. Yeah.
I can do urban.
Okay.
Okay, so we got it set up. So what we'll do then is these discussion questions are in the shared document that you each will have access to. I put it in the chat, and you in your breakout groups, go ahead and go through that. We'll spend maybe 15 minutes in our group, and that'll give us like 15 minutes to kind of come back and have a group discussion. Does that seem like enough time? Or you want 20 minutes in the group?
I think we should have 15 for the report out.
Yeah, okay. So let's do 15 minutes in our group. So let's come back at about 2:45. All right. Welcome. Thanks, everybody.
Elizabeth, you were cut off, but I want to say yes. If you ever want to do some pace thing, let's talk about it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Making pace.
All right. Well, how did you all like the breakouts? We get like some thumbs up or a little bit. Hopefully it was good. Okay. Hey, all right. Now I see lots of thumbs up. Great. I like that. Well, I hope it gave you an opportunity to meet people a little bit more. So I guess we could have like quick thoughts from the each scenario. Water resources. Do you want to maybe just like a minute, kind of your high level overview, and others of us can kind of follow along and look at your notes as you had them.
Sure. Would anybody like to speak from our group, or do you want me to give the report out? We had a lively discussion, and then a lot of just like crunching on the Google Doc as well. I think most of us came from different areas of expertise than watershed management, so a little bit of a new area for some of us, which kind of made for a little bit of out of the box thinking, I think, as well. Yeah, Emil, do you want to? I don't want to just calling people out of the off the cuff, but Emil was doing an awesome job of kind of keeping us focused and heading down the path of answering these questions. So I was going to see if he wanted to jump in and give a little bit of the report out.
Sure. Thank you so much, Amanda, and thank you too for facilitating the session. I guess maybe in the interest of time, since I guess we have, I guess probably what we can cover in a minute or so. The challenge had to do with, again, Maria, we presume is this, she's from Bureau of Reclamation, looking at water resources and some sediment event that's happening. And so the first question was what kind of EO data that she could access. And so we talked about the gamut of those that she'd likely need: topography data, precip data, data from Landsat and Sentinel-2 that could be used to generate water quality related data for the reservoir, et cetera, thermal anomaly type data, and also potentially things like from PACE, SMAP, et cetera. And then the other one was, some of the, things that she'd have to consider. Obviously looking at this before and after, for what the event that occurred. So therefore, weekly or biweekly type of composites, probably higher level type products, level 2. How she would access those data sets, whether she's looking to do it all on the desktop, which would likely be challenging, or likely using something in the cloud, such as Earth Engine or something similar. ARD type products that she might leverage. Again, what was listed there. Some kind of imagery publication platform or Earth Engine, and then some of the barriers that she might encounter in doing that stuff. So like again mentioned before, where's she going to store all this stuff, or can she just do it in the cloud? Data that might not exist that she's essentially computing from that. And I guess in terms of workflows and how also 5 and 6, how ESIP could also or this collaboration could fit into that would be, are there existing tutorials, data recipes, workflows that Maria might be able to pull directly to be able to work with that kind of stuff. And so I think going forward, this group, that's what this group could contribute as well.
Thanks, Emil. That's really helpful. I like the kind of the success stories idea too, like the examples at the end. That's really useful. Thanks. Okay, we'll go on to scenario 2, but we're gonna have to go really, really fast on these. So maybe just give me just a couple highlights. Give us like 3 or 4 sentences of highlights, and then we'll move on, because otherwise we won't finish on time.
Okay, so I think I'm next to Liz in the list. So this was for urban forest and resource management. So I want to thank everybody that participated in the group. I think given the example, folks felt that the Earth observation data would not be advantageous for this case. So something with finer resolution, planet imagery would be more strategic to use in this case. They also mentioned 3DEP and 3D NAPE as data sets given this use case. And then, so I think there's an opportunity here to see some examples, if there has been some examples of how Earth observation has been used for here, but for the folks that we had, it was not something that they would use.
Awesome. Fire disturbance was next. That was my group. And somebody else besides me wanna take it away? Ty, you had some good comments there. Do you wanna talk for us?
I'm not sure I can do it justice, but I think one of the things that we briefly discussed was just the diversity of tools and data sets that can be presented to somebody making a land management decision, and how challenging it can be to decide which between those is appropriate for a certain application. So that was part of our discussion. We also touched on the value of maybe developing some semi-automated systems to acquire certain types of imagery in post-fire types of settings that would be useful for folks, rather than maybe taking like a tasking type of approach or that type of approach. Yeah, let's see. I don't know. I don't think I covered it all. Do you have any
No,
other thoughts
I
there?
think that's helpful. And if folks want to see more, they can look at it. And honestly, if anyone has comments and you want to add to any of the other scenarios, anyone can go in and update the other scenarios. I think Andy wrote that in the chat as well. Okay, so we didn't do, let's see, we didn't do wildlife. So next would be scenario 5, the forest restoration and management.
Sounds great. Does anyone else in our group want to present what we talked about? Who was the graduate student woman who you had some great ideas? I can't remember your name. I'm sorry.
That was Mia, Alana.
Hello.
I have to pull the Google Doc up, but
oh, here, I'll paste it in the chat if you're Control D.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if that's helpful.
Yeah, but I could read off. We didn't get to all of the set of questions, but what we did get through was our scenario was looking at sort of insect outbreaks when you have sort of extensive tree mortality and looking for sort of invasive pests and with identify high priority salvage logging areas. And so the EO data that we thought would be useful for addressing this was something someone else brought up about HighForm as the Google Earth Engine tool for identifying defoliation through change detection. I brought up using hyperspectral data, which may or may not work in a cost-effective scenario because it can be rather expensive to fly. But if there are satellite products that come out, that might be useful there. And then for spatial and temporal resolution, if we're using satellite composites, we're going to need sort of multiple images in a week to deal with cloud cover. Especially if you're working up at high elevations, clouds can become an issue in the US. And then I mentioned NDVI products might be more actionable right away because it's kind of low-hanging fruit. For derived products are analysis ready. Someone else brought ARD data for forest damage, but there aren't quite enough remote sensing specialists to sort of cover that now. US Forest Service, Forest Health prefers user-friendly data outputs. Something I brought up was Landtrender kind of has a UI on Google Earth Engine that makes it really easy to put data right in. And then the last two, barriers, resolution. You've got 10 and 30 meter data for Landsat and Sentinel, which can be either a challenge or a benefit depending on what you're looking at. Complex processing and too much data with hyperspectral.
Awesome.
And then the last one, oh, do you need me to stop? I can stop.
Well, yeah, thanks. That's perfect. And I think we'll go on to the last one just so we can finish on time. So Amanda, did you want to do like, or is it Tim? You're the last one, I think. If you want to do like just a quick wrap up.
Yeah, I think so. We did not focus on the specifics of the question so much as how this cluster might be able to help us moving forward. And one of the things that kept coming up was poor computing performance on local agency machines. And not everyone wants to work in a cloud computing environment. And maybe some best practices that can be shared moving forward with respect to how data can be shared, maybe recommendations for data sets, how other agencies might be getting around this issue, how they might be using some of this information. And ultimately, like cloud computing is changing fast. It's not terribly sexy, but are there people that have this figured out? People at places like Google keep changing the goalposts. And maybe if one group has it figured out, that might be a really beneficial thing that can be presented to this group and this cluster. And I'll stop there. Thanks all.
Thanks, Tim. I just want to thank everybody for attending and participating today. And we've reached the end of our time, so don't want to keep anybody over. But I just want to say, if you want to register for our listserv to get more information, there's a form here and a QR code. And also you can sign up for our next webinar, which will be March 24th at 2 p.m. Eastern, which will be the post-MODIS options for land management applications. And so I hope you sign up to attend that. And I think registering for that one will actually just register for our cluster and for future meetings as well. So we hope to get a chance to talk with you all again soon. And thanks everyone for joining today.